So, hi everyone. Trust you're doing well. This will be our first class. So, this is me saying welcome to class, right? My name is Oluyomi Olusala Michael. As you must have noticed, I'm a product manager with over 5 years of experience managing digital products. So, let's start. So today we'll be learning the fundamentals. What exactly is product management? What is product itself, right? So we'll start from product. Before we understand what it means to manage a product, we need to first off grasp the concept. Let me record. All right. So we need to first grasp the concept of um the product itself. So exactly what exactly is a product? I defined it here as an item or service designed to satisfy the customer needs. So basically, it can be either tangible items, just like your phones, your cars, your as long as the need of a particular customer is met, right? Which means eventually the business needs is also met. Usually the customer in this case or the user in this case could be the business, it could be the customers, the users that will eventually use the product. It could be the most important part is that your product is meeting a particular need. Now, what does this mean? Think of anything around you that is meeting a need. It's a product. Now, this might be contrary a bit to some of the ideas that you have initially, but yeah, anything, basically anything, either tangible or intangible, hardware, things you could see physically, or abstract objects such as softwares, they are all products as long as they meet a particular need, either customers' needs or business needs, right? So when you think of product, think of something that is solving the problem of another. So anytime you think of product again, think of something that is designed or built to solve a particular problem for particular group or individual, right? Now this is the idea behind product. Now, what are the things that we consider characteristics, so to say, what are the how do we recognize product? Number one, you recognize a product by its functionality. That means it actually has a function. Number one. Number two, it is usable. And number three, it is desirable. Now, these three things should always guide you. Please, I don't know if some of us are with our pen and book, write it down. These three things, of course, in the next slide, I will talk about it in four different ways. But these three things should be at the heart, like at the center of your heart as products managers. Your product has to number one be functional. It has to be it has to have something it does. For example, your mobile banking app, it has a function it does. It was not just designed to be put on your phone, your gaming app, right? It's not just designed to just be added to your phone anyway. It has a function. It has something it does. That's number one. Number two, it is usable, right? It is usable. It is not something that is built and nobody can use it, right? It is usable. When I say nobody can use it, I mean it is something that you can relate to, something you can use, something you can access, right? And then finally, it is desirable. That means there's a need that it solves. So people are actually looking forward to using it. That's what it means to be desirable. Like your product is not just something you thought in your head. I think people will like this thing, and then boom, you put it out there. No, it has to be desirable. It has to be something that actually people are looking forward to using, right? That's what makes a product, right? So these are the three core components of a product. So wherever you get to, always remember the first one is it has to be functional. The second one, it has to be usable. And then the third one, it has to be desirable. Any product you have today that is touching the world today has these three major components. Any product. I mean any product. Anyone that you see that maybe was touching the world before and no longer touching the world, it started lacking one of these. I'll give you a very good example. Some of us here, at least I know some of us here, use BlackBerry. Some of us that I know personally, right? We used BlackBerry when it was out there, right? And it was like the the invoke thing. Why? Because number one, it was usable, it was functional, and then it was what? Desirable, right? Then it got to a point, it was no longer desirable. Why? Because there was another part, another system that was more desirable, right? At that particular point, it was buttons everywhere, and people preferred having buttons as at that time because it solved an initial problem. Just to take you back in the first, take you back to the olden days, right? For those of us that used telephones when they came into being, right? Telephones at initially had only, I think, one, two, three, one, two, three, 12 buttons. 12. You have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. And then you have star. This star they call it. That ash lyrics. And then you have ash. Right? So you have asterisk and ash, and then you have zero in the middle. So you have nine, is it nine? 12 keys in total. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, asterisk, zero, and ash. Right? Those are the only keys. So to type how are you doing, you most likely have to press H, which is like, where is H? A B C D E F G H. So you have to type four like two times. How? Then come here, type this one three times. For those of us that had experience with those kind of mobile devices, right? It was stressful. Then BlackBerry phones came and they had all the buttons. If you want to type A, you can easily just click on A and it will automatically type. If you want to type B, you can easily just click on B if you type. Like, I don't have to type, press it four times or six times or three times before I can basically write how are you. I remember those days of extra cool, those days of to go for some of us that use those small, small, tiny, tiny phones. Those days of skimming, right? You would practically have to type. Imagine you now make a mistake, you delete everything again, right? Just to be able to type on your phone. Type, and this is where all those short form came in, right? It was stressful to type. So when I want to type how are you, I don't have to type the full words. I just do um fine instead of writing I am fine. You just do, how do you write fine again? FYN. Um how are you? You do AR. How do you type how are you again? I can't remember. But you had short form of things because it was stressful typing a full sentence, right? Then BlackBerry came, brought mobile phones that had all the buttons, right? All the buttons, so even extra, right? It has, basically it was like you were carrying keyboards that you would regularly use and you were using it on your mobile phone. It was exciting. People were using it. In fact, what was what blew BlackBerry up? BlackBerry was everywhere. By the way, just to put context to it, before BlackBerry came, there was Symbian phone. I know that most of us probably don't know, but yeah, at least I used a Symbian phone. There were Symbian phones, there were Java phones as well, right? And these phones also had similar functionality, but they did not solve the main problem, having multiple buttons, right? They still had the same buttons. The only difference is he had some extra button added somewhere, for example, to lock your phone. In those days, with the regular phone, to lock your phone, you have to press the buttons. You have to do, for those of us I remember, you have to press the top button and hash. Hi, Louisa. Sorry, I have to mute you. You have to press the. You're muted. Do you want to say something? Okay. So you
Yeah,
have to
my
press.
apologies. I was trying to log.
No problem. Thank you. It's good to have you in class, by the way. So you have the top button. I wish I had those phones, but then you had the top button here, and then when you click on this button, you have to click click on hash to lock your phone. There was no side button to lock phone, or I mean, those usability that we enjoy now with our mobile devices were not there. So what Symbian and Java did is those things that you commonly do. They created buttons for them, like to lock your phone. But that was not enough for users, and that was why Java's and Symbian phones did not essentially last. So when I BlackBerry came, BlackBerry had a lot. They had all these buttons, even to lock phone. They even had buttons to type, and it was beautiful. Funny enough, they now introduced their own apps, specialized app, BBN, brought a lot of amazing stuff, right? And then um, there came, I think it was these guys first, before Apple came. It was Microsoft. Microsoft started doing Windows Phone. If you remember the early days of Microsoft Windows phones, where you can actually touch your screen with it, right? And then it became a big thing, right? Because they were not just touching their screen with it, it was auto correcting. That was something that actually drew people to it. And before you know it, Android devices started trooping in. And then when it started tripping in, um, usability became better. Remember, I said functionality, usability, and desirability. Usability became better. Users are able to use, they feel better experiences with all these new Android and iPhone that they were coming in. It was easier for them to just, I mean, type whatever they wanted to type. And BlackBerry was like, no, we are still the king of the jungle. You guys will still press this button. They released the first version, the latest version. No touch screen. It was still button. They still forced people to press button. The second one, the third one, the fourth one, and people started getting tired of waiting. Nokia too felt like maybe BlackBerry was a good bet, so they started also keeping the buttons. And again, the market was moving. Why? Because usability has increased, has improved. We now use the systems better, right? We now use the system better. So they lost the market. Now, you see why these three things are actually very important. Once one of it is missing, then you have a problem. I can give examples upon examples upon example for those of us that knew the early days of websites, right? They were just tables, TDTR. You when you open a website, it is designed like a table. Like everything, you can basically count the tables in the website because that was the only technology that was available as at then. And then now CSS came. There was I don't want to go very technical. Websites started having colors, right? It started having images. In those days, if you put image in your website, the image might go down. In fact, for all of us that went to Nigerian universities, when you try to load your university's website, you notice that sometimes the image is going to the left or going to the right because they were built on the old architectures, right? So over time, systems started getting better. We started having frameworks and everything, but there are still people that are still stuck to that. Like, yeah, yeah, I'm going to stay here. For some of them, it worked for them because of the kind of industry they have. One of them is what's the name of this platform where you get just Naira Land? Is it Naira Land? Yes, Naira Land. Naira Land still use the old uh, HTML framework. If you go to Naira Land, it still looks like a table. The website is not even fine. Why are people using it? Why? Because people are not going there for user. They are not going there for the aesthetics. They actually just want to ask questions and get answers. The same with Quora and many others like that. But if you're in the space where aesthetics matters, then your usability has to always improve over time, right? So now this is why these three things are actually very important. I'm taking my time to explain this call because they are very important to what your growth would look like as a product manager, right? It's the difference between you being a successful product manager and then you being a failure. as a product manager. All right. So what are the main characteristics? Number one, I already talked about functionality, and I already talked about desirability. Usability in this particular way, I splitted it into two, which is design and user experience. Right? These two things are different. Although from a product standpoint, we look at them as one because it is non-negotiable for us. Your design and user experience has to always align, right? You for a product manager, let me just use it like that way. So it's something that you have to conscious from now, from today that you started this class. When you use your application, be more conscious. Why don't we have pay now buttons as red, even though I mean UBA main color is red? Why is their payment button not red? Why is like be more conscious of some of these things that you regularly see, right? Why is the stop button anywhere? I mean, even in car, the stop is always red. Why is it always red? Right? This consciousness helps you even when you start to build your own product, right? To start getting very conscious. Like my camera right now is showing a blue, what are they calling it? A blue light around it. Why is it blue? Why not green? Why not purple? Why blue exactly? Right? This consciousness of um design and experience would help you understand why um some models, again, maybe we'll talk about design systems and ecosystem later, but yeah, while some of these parts are actually very very important, right? Why is it that when I try to log in and I'm not able to log in, the system is supposed to show red. I'm shouting bang, 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 but it's not showing red, it's just showing one yellow error. Why is it yellow? Why not red? Right? Why is it amber? Why not red? Right? So these are consciousness that you have to have as a product manager. I don't know if that makes any sense. All right. So, basically, functionality, you already understand functionality. It has to solve something, it has to solve a problem, right? The product has to solve a problem. Number two, it has to be visually attractive, right? You have to look at it and say, mm, mm, it's nice. Let me give you an example of a product that solves a very huge problem at that time. Was awesome, meets the user need and everything, but it was not visually attractive. Just to take us back again as an example, um, Microsoft phone, they call it Windows Phone, was meant to revolutionize the entire ecosystem. It was meant to like change the mobile space as we know it. Now I'll tell you why. Practically 80% of people that had laptops in Nigeria at that time, they were using HP or Dell, or they were using Windows Phone. I mean, MacBook recently just became a thing because an average African could not afford MacBook as at that year. So most people were using Windows devices. Windows was like the most common one, except you want to. For those of us that are here, you can bear witness. Those of us that used um, computers early. Maybe you had like a desktop in your house. Your daddy has a computer that has a monitor and then the big CPU brain. I don't know what they told you about it, but brain of the computer, and then you have the attached keyboard and mouse, right? You check very well. It was not your iOS that was there. It was not Apple systems. Most of those laptops or desktops, they were Windows system. So what what's their name? Remind me again. What Nokia did was build a system, I mean Windows Phone rather, build a system in collaboration with Microsoft that allows you to easily copy and paste anything from your phone to your laptops or to your desktop, right? It was usability wise, it was brilliant. It was awesome. But they built something very good to a user who doesn't understand the need. The user, on the other hand, was looking for devices that don't have button. But you, as a customer, you feel like, this is a major need. I want to copy I want to copy a picture from my phone to my laptop so that I can send it as an email. I mean, if I have a Windows phone, I'll just do send to laptop and boom, it's sent without me. I want to copy a film, a movie from, and maybe I'm watching a movie at that time. Movie was the common thing, you remember. For those of us that studied in uni, but very not too far away, 2017, 2016, movies were not streaming apps were not like as common. 2016, 2015, like streaming movie online was not like who pays for Netflix, right? It was not the main thing in Africa. Most people pirated pirated movies. We had places where we download the movie from. We download the movie and watch it on our laptop. Say you're watching movie on your laptop with Windows Phone, you don't have to wait 1 hour for a 2.5 gig movie to be transferred to my phone. I'll just do send to phone. And when I want to play it next, I don't have to forward because it will start playing at that exact place that I stopped. That idea that Windows Phone was built on years ago is what Apple is now selling today. So you can see how a product was built to solve a very, very valid reason, but the customer was not ready for it. So again, when you build, you have to build it functional. Does it solve my customer's problem or is solving my own problem? Again, because you are product managers, some of you will be working in management, and because you're working in management, you would be made to build products for people who are not up to you a bit in standard. Maybe I should not use that word, but class, when it comes to class, maybe they can't relate to your problem. For example, be some people will never be employed by Tesla. Why? Because they can't relate to the product, right? If you've never driven a luxury car before, if you work for Tesla, there are some features that Tesla will talk about that you feel like this thing is not necessary, right? It's the same way. But as product managers, we should never have that bias where we are saying, no, this is what I think the user will need. No, you are never the person that thinks for the user. You have to always get the user feedback. We'll still talk a bit more in class how we get feedback from customers, how do we even know what the customer needs? I mean, some customers don't even know what they need. I mean, right now everybody's asking for the iPhone. Sorry, can somebody help me? What's the next iPhone? Like, what's supposed to be the next iPhone? Is it iPhone 20? I'm sorry, I'm not following iPhones. Hey, Ọlọ́run Femi. This is your network, eh? I mean your mic. iPhone 18. Good. Most of us, if you want to be sincere, I know some of us use iPhone here, but most of us, if they ask us in iPhone 18, what feature are you expecting? Sure, you wonder what else do they want to add? The camera is good already. The I mean, what else? What else do they want to add? But there's always a lot of things to add, right? There's always a lot of things to add. There's always a lot of things to improve, right? So how do we actually get customers to actually know what their needs are, even in a time where it looks like we've met all their needs? We'll still talk about this when we get to the adoption calls, right? It's going to be an amazing ride, I believe so. All right, then market fit is what I mentioned earlier as remember I said desirability. So that's what market fit means that you are aligned with the audience needs. Remember what I said that um Windows Phone at that time was solving a major problem, and it's a very valid problem. I remember, as at 2017 that when we want to send data from our laptop, if I want to send data to my uh a movie. Usually movie we used to collect that time. We're not serious to our life. But yeah, I want to collect movie from one laptop. I want to put it in my flash. I have to wait like 10, 15 minutes for that movie to be copied to my flash. And after copying it to my flash, I'll now go and carry that same flash to the device I want to copy it to and wait another 10 to 15 minutes. When all I needed to do was just connect my Windows phone, if I had one at the time, to that particular Windows, and then boom, can actually send the data in seconds, right? This was like a huge feature as at that time that was actually valid. Again, functionality wise, it solves a problem. Design wise, aesthetically pleasing, right? But market fit was not aligned to what user needed at that particular point. At that particular point, the most important need of the user was they needed a way to be able to send messages faster. They needed a way to something that would solve the problem of over clicking, right? Like over clicking, the click rates, fastest time to actually send a message. My for example, said I was not going to do this in this class, but I think I'll have to do it. For people that are single, right? People that are very single on this call. One of the problems as at that time is your girlfriend. Sarah is laughing. I'm sure I'm sure Louisa and Anointing are already looking at me as I know you will do it. All right, so people that are single, so to say, if you it's at that time your girlfriend, so to say, has already sent you message. Like imagine one man finally and I'll send you love message. You are the sugar in my tea, he has spent like 30 minutes to even type that message. And then you just want to tell him I love you too. But to type I love you on those kind of phone that time, you are even though you want to type like immediately, you can't type immediately. It still has to calm down wherever it is because it will take you like 5 minutes to even come up with the I. Sometimes you are typing the I, it mistakenly type J. So you have to delete, start again and type again. I. If you type it too much again, it will mistakenly type K. So again, it was a stress. It was like the most stressful need of the customer. If time permits, we will also work on the value Canva metrics. Where we'll talk about um the user job. We'll talk about the pain reliever. We'll talk about the we talk about quite a number of things. But most importantly, you'll notice that in this particular problem, this Windows Phone was a major problem that they solved. So functionality, check. Design, oh, Windows phones were beautiful. For those of us that had experience with it at that time, awesome phones. They had amazing sound. Like they had sound that Java and Symbian phones didn't have. They were one of the few phones that had quality sound. So you are playing music on it. With early iPhones, they didn't have good sound. I've Apple wanted you to be dependent on their ecosystem. So they had built iPod. So they didn't put the best sound in iPhone so that you can buy iPod and connect it to your like it was very stupid as at that time. So Windows Phone could have easily entered the market because they had that functionality that the competitors didn't have at the time. Right? So design, check. User experience, check. But the major problem, which was the main problem, was not solved. So again, you can be solving a problem that exists, but that's not what the customer needed at that particular point. And that's why I'm looking at a lot of companies adding AI to everything they want to do. Some of us don't want AI. We don't want. I don't want AI in my coffee maker. I just want to get coffee, right? I mean, why are you selling me AI blender? I just want to blend pepper. Why? Why? Why should my blender have AI in it? It makes zero sense, right? Like, what is the AI supposed to do? My blender already has timer. Why should he have AI? Am I supposed AI will check if it has blended well? Oh God. So you see a lot of products now also making the same mistakes that the early tech product actually made. And this is mostly because we call it bias. We have product bias. So you as a rich guy, for example, I know some rich people here. Say for example, Kyra now is a rich person and she's saying, well, I need a shoe that can help me move around. Like I don't just want to be moving around. I just want to put a shoe and the shoe will walk the walk for me, right? Because I have the money to pay for it, right? And because of that, I just feel like this is a major need. I don't like walking. I don't know if you've seen people cry about things and you're like, this is a normal thing we do now. Why are you complaining about these things, right? And But because you believe that this problem you have is a general problem, then you spend millions of naira or dollars in investing into a product that nobody would use, right? So this is why these four things are very important. Again, I split usability to design and user experience. So the major ones are functionality, usability, and what's the final one? Anyone? I mentioned three things. You can drop in the comments. Functionality, usability. I'm glad he's not here. Functionality, usability. What's the third one? Like we'll do giveaway now. Okay, we are not doing giveaway. About three people already. Desirability. So it has to be desirable by those that are using it. All right. So, so now, what exactly is product management? Before we talk about the evolution, what is product management? Product management is basically the process from ideation, from that point where you think of the idea to the point where the product is delivered to the customer. That is the process of the management. Usually, there's a misconception where people come and say, product management is like you are managing the product. So the product has to be done before you come and become product manager for it. That's not the case. So product management scope is usually from the point where the it was just an idea that needs to be validated. So it always starts with an idea. There's a problem. Somebody's saying they have a problem, but you need to validate to the customers with enough users, validate to the market to be sure that it actually meets. Remember, I used the word market fit. That problem you're facing is fully a problem that is being faced by every other person in the market, right? So once you're done with that, you now prioritize, you do designs, do development, you do testing, and many other things like that. So the journey from that ideation stage to the point where the customer is excited. In fact, after that, you are basically practicing product management. So product management is that entire process, not just um managing a product. I don't know where people got that from, but yeah, that's the idea. So how did we came to? I'll still explain it better later. So how did we came to product management? So earlier, I like to tell this story. In the early days, there was nothing like product management really. It was mostly CEOs taking decisions, and it was not very common in software space. It was not even in existence. The word product management was not in existence. What the one that was common is project management. Now you see project management, you will still learn tomorrow. We'll probably learn the difference. It's a serious war in the space, but yeah, we'll probably learn the difference tomorrow. But yeah, project management was a thing, and this is because in construction or manufacturing, is actually valid even till today. Project management cannot be removed from industries that build things that are time sensitive and budget sensitive. So, for example, in an automobile company, you would always have a project manager. Why? Because they have to know all the parts they want to use for the car before they start building the car. Right? Any product you want to build that requires you to know everything that you need before you even start building at all. This kind of projects are called requires project management. So you need a very tight. You know that for example, you want to have. Uh, let me look for an example. This is an example that we can use. Really, I can't think of one. But basically, well, like your cars, right? Like your car. You want to build the next Camry, for example, or Toyota, the next Toyota brand. Regardless, this brand has to have a gear. It has to have steering wheel, well, except you want to do self-driving cars. But even self-driving cars still has steering for manual handover. But you still have it has to have a loading boot. It has to have chairs that people will sit. It has to have like a packers. Is it packers they call it or body? It has to have carcass, right? It's called carcass. It has to have, we can continue mentioning over and over again. So that kind of project, you can specifically say that these are all the things that we require. You can also measure how much those things will worth before you even start building it at all. Those kind of projects require a project management. So early life, if you think about life before now, you would understand that the the solutions that came before software came, they were mostly project related. Do you want to talk about the rail? The rail, do you want to talk about the automobile industry or construction industry? If you want to build a house, you already know what the house would look like before you even start building, right? Well, except you are in Alagbon village or one village where they don't know how you just hope that it will turn out well. But for a proper building, you probably at least have the plan. Even if you don't no. You say, okay, I want 2 bedroom, and the 2 bedroom should be this wide. Ehen. So you put it there, it's there. But you already have an idea of what that would look like before you start just at the early stage of development or solution development. It was mostly project based. They were not product based. They were not projects that you can innovate on, right? If you build your house, just to give a very good example, if you build your house with the mindset that you just want to build a bungalow, right? Which means you probably didn't spend a lot of energy or funding on your foundation or pillars and everything. And then 2 years later, you decided that I'm not a big man. I don't think I need bungalow anymore. I need a duplex. I need 3 bedroom duplex. I'm very sure that whoever you call will tell you we need to break down this entire house first and then start afresh. Maybe if you say you want 2 bedroom, maybe they might be able to raise it. There are technologies to raise houses now and change the foundation under it. But that will even probably cost more than you just breaking it and rebuilding from scratch, right? So this was the main problem with the project-based approach to building solutions. So when software came, which was around early 1980s or 2000s, right? When we started having adoption of softwares and even hardware components like our mobile phones and everything, when those guys started coming in, they started to think about a more sustainable way to building solutions. I mean, we can't keep breaking down walls every time we want to increase the height of our building. Like we can't keep breaking down walls because our foundations were not done properly. So what process, what role, or how can we ensure that whatever we build right now is not necessarily failing when in the future we need to build on it, right? And then product management was born, right? Because for product managers we are open to change. We build with scalability in mind. We build with the mind that tomorrow, even though we are building a bungalow right now, tomorrow we might want to increase it to 5 story or even 10 story building, right? So that's the difference. If you see a project management, I was still discussing with a friend yesterday who works in no, the day before yesterday, who works in a popular Nigeria bank. He was saying that, "Guy, our project managers, they don't know anything." I was like, no, they're not supposed to know anything, actually. They don't care. Project management managers are not meant to care about anything. They are meant to deliver. So you hear a project manager say, I have a tight deadline. You have to deliver this on Monday or lose your job, right? Because they also are at the risk of losing their job because it has to be delivered on Monday, right? So project-based projects or project-based solutions have a very tight um deadlines, budget, and everything. So change is really welcome. But as product managers, we welcome change for a living. Do we also ensure that things are delivered on time? Yes. But we welcome change for a living. Like our main purpose is to innovate. We're expected to innovate at every point. A project manager does not need to innovate. As a matter of fact, you can have a project manager. Maybe you can get a project manager in a network. Maybe they want to set up a network in for say Dangote. Dangote says, I want to set up a network team in my so that when you are in the factory, you can use internet anywhere, right? For example, this might be a project, and then you can get a project manager that has nothing, that knows nothing about network, and then the project will be successful, right? Because the project manager does not necessarily have to have in-depth understanding of the project. All he has to know is the researcher who had earlier researched and say, okay, we need to have access point here, we need to have this here, Wi-Fi has to be placed here, hotspot has to be placed here, blah 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 blah. The person has given them the proper documentation. What a project manager works with is the documentation, and he follows it to after the other, one after the other. You can't come and say, I think where you want to put this access point, it cannot work there. The project manager will tell you it has to work because when they were doing the research, you approved it, right? And in the project space, before now, I'll still talk a lot about this tomorrow. But yeah, before now, you before they even start project, it has to be approved. Just to give you an example, if you want to build a house, at least to the best of my knowledge in Nigeria, if you want to build a house, the first stage is when you buy the land, you have to go and check the history of the land, get approval, be sure that really the land is viable, right? It's not an industrial layout that somebody wants to just rip you off. When you finally get all the necessary documents, say governor's consent or R of O or C of O, whatever it is you've gotten now, you now know that this is my land. The next step is you get survey, right? Even though you know the house you want to build, you can't just go and build. You have to get survey. You have to get survey of the land. After getting a survey of the land, you take that survey, you take it to the town planning people give you the survey. You now give this survey to um a surveyor to approve that this survey works. And then surveyor approve, this is the survey of your land. And then you take that survey, even though you now have the survey, you know the length and breadth of your land already. You know the depth of your land. You know if your land is a water land or a full land or whatever it is. Now you now take that survey, you give it to an architect. Now this architect also will now use this survey to build the house of your dream. You tell the architect, I want 3 bedroom, I want it to be flying, right? I want when I stay on the window, I want the breeze to come and do like this, right? Or I mean, you can tell the architect as much things as possible, and then this architect takes this idea of yours and brings it into a design. Still, you can still not build. So that you understand how project work, you can still not build. So you take this architectural design, you take it back to the survey office and say, "Hey, my survey people, how are you doing? I finally done my architectural design." Then the survey people will look at it and say, "Okay, based on this design, you follow the survey principle. Oh, okay, 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 okay." And they will now approve. Hmm. Now, after approving, you will think that you can start to build. But no, you cannot. Because you have to still go and pay levies. Levies. You pay the community levy, you pay this, you pay that, you pay that. And that survey and the whole plan that you've done has to be completed, at least in Nigeria, I believe, has to be completed in 6 months. If not, you still have to go back to the town planning to get a new survey. Now, why is this so um, rigid and the process so crazy? And because when it comes to project based, you have to follow guidelines. It has to be approved. If something happens and the building collapse, they would ask who approved this project, right? They would ask who did this, or the government tomorrow wake up and say they want to destroy the whole place. They will ask you, did you get your survey? Who approved the survey? The survey was approved by the surveyor general of Kinikon, blah blah blah. Who did this? Who approved this? Who did this? Who did that? Why? Because it's a project based work. But you see, in product management, instead of doing all of this first, doing this first before we do this in parallel, just like you are getting while the what are they calling it? Your maybe after you've gotten your land and everything, Even while you're trying to get approval for your land, you can already start building. That's the idea behind product management. So that everybody is able to work at the same time, right? The work of a surveyor is not delaying the work of a bricklayer. The work of a bricklayer is not delaying the work of a, I don't know, window maker, something like that. Everybody already knows the measurement of what they need to do, and they can start preparing it down before you get to do. And the beautiful part of product management is it is now starting to affect our construction companies as well. I don't know if any of you have noticed recently. If you are building bridges now, they don't build the pillars at that particular location. You see them build the pillars in separate places and then bring it to install it in the location where the bridge should be. And this is the idea behind continuous development that allows that while the surveyors are doing, oh, where should this be, while the I don't know their names, while they are trying to do this, the people doing the main concrete can also start doing their own, because you already know the measurements, you already know how it will fit, and everybody can now come together and then launch everything together. All right, so this is the idea behind production, and this is how product management has moved and evolved till date. All right. So why is product management important? Actually, this is important because it helps us solve complex problem in a simple way, right? Before product management came, when you solve complex problem, you solve it in a complex way. So you, just like the example I give now, you probably spend a whole year or even 2 years planning, getting approvals and everything, and then you now start building, right? But with products management, I mean, you can think of a problem right now and solve it right now. Um, I think in one of the trainings I just finished now, I remember we were in a class, and one of the students was like, "How can we see our results and everything?" And right there on the spot, we actually built a solution that helped them see their results immediately. Right. This is how product management actually helps evolve problems, as opposed to spending years just validating a particular idea, and then eventually the customer says, "This is not what I want," and then boom, money I've wasted, just like Windows Phone. Remember, right? Uh, where do PMs fit? So as PMs, where do we fit in the companies? Like, where are we in the company? Are we the CEO? Are we the whatever it is? No, we are not the CEO, but we also align when it comes to strategy and visions. We would learn and understand that as time goes. Product management managers do three major things. We strategize. What's the next thing? What's the next big thing? You have to be able to think about it. What are the pain point of my customers? What are the things that is more important to do? How can I ensure that this thing I want to do is aligning with my vision? For example, you are an e-commerce platform. How do I ensure that I don't end up like Jumia, right? An e-commerce platform, what's your business with delivery? Like, it makes zero sense. You are complicating your system. Till today, you will see that Temu does not have Temu delivery. Why? Because they have to consistently think about it, right? You can't be everywhere. You can't be the delivery and the e-commerce platform. You can't be the delivery platform. You can't be the fulfillment platform. You can't be everyone at the same time, right? One of the things that I feel like is killing Jumia till today is this singularism. They were too into everywhere. I feel like they should have expanded with their e-commerce branding all across Africa, and by now they'll probably be all over the world. But again, I feel like they were too greedy. They wanted all the market to themselves. They started the delivery wing, they started this, and before you know it, they forgot what their vision is. Now, as product managers, this is what helps us. We align. We help the company align the strategy and vision. So even though the customer is asking for this, you're saying, you are deciding whether to buy a company that already does that. You feel like you want more control, or should we just partner with them instead of buying? You find companies that do that. Um, a good example is your Temu. Right now, you can actually pay with OPay on Temu. How many of us have seen that feature? Oh, I need to know who used to order. You will not answer again because I say I want to use see who used to order a lot. Anyway, on okay, Blessing has seen it. On Temu now, you see a button that says pay with OPay. You see pay with Paystack. You see, so they could have also built their payment platform. I hope you know that this our Jumia has a payment system. They have a payment license. Like strange people, right? You already do amazing well in your e-commerce. Just stick to it, right? They have a payment license, so they expect you to actually have a wallet, Jumia wallet. Which makes zero sense. I don't know why they do that anyway. But yeah, so you decide if you want to partner, you want to sell. And by the way, as you go, you guys will understand compliance landscape with time. It's something I will talk about a lot. You also understand licensing. This is also very important. Some of the companies that we have right now, they don't have license. Just to give you context, the simplest you could see, that Bodawale or Sister Kike that used to do delivery, that used to go and pick up items and deliver to somebody else. If the federal government catch them, it's 6 months imprisonment. Why? Because you are expected to get a license to be able to help anybody to deliver any goods in Nigeria. That license, regional license is around 2 point, I think 2.2 million. Renewable every year. National license is 3 million flat. Renewable every year. So you can think of almost 100, almost minimum of 1,000 businesses in Nigeria that are not registered. By the way, they are also needless, right? Because you have to be spending this money every year. Why invest into it when you can just partner with people that are already paying this money? At the end of the day, maybe you split your your commission 60/40 or thereabout, right? Either way, these are decisions that you have to take as a products manager. Should I buy? Should I partner? Should I um should I build? Yes, anointing. You have a question? Hello, anointing. Okay. I think it was a mistake. All right. So you have strategy. Like I said, these are some of the strategies that you take. Usually, we have between three things to decide. Should we buy an existing company that does it? You'd see the case of Paystack. Paystack recently acquired a company. Okay. Paystack recently acquired a new company that does amazing stuff. And also, Paystack also built a new company, right? And now you see other companies also partner, right? Like I said, Temu looked at their strategy and decided, no, we'd rather partner, right? Also, you have to also think about it. Should I pivot, right? An example of pivoting is OPay. All of us on this call, well, except Louisa, we remember when OPay came into Nigeria, they came in as a delivery platform. Oh, OPay was interesting, right? Realize that you can, I said logistic platform, sorry. You can basically, like, you can book a bike that will take you from the place that you usually pay around 1.5, you probably pay 100 naira or 2 naira or 200 naira for that trip. They got massive customers in Nigeria, but it was not profitable. So they had to strategize and pivot to another major problem that Nigerians had. And today, OPay is like one of the top and biggest payment providers in Nigeria. Banking provider. I think they now even have licenses, now have a microfinance license, which now is making them unstoppable, right? So again, this is the idea. I think Paystack also just bought a new microfinance. By the way, one of the things that I will be opening your eyes to see is, can I quickly leave the call and join with another device so you can hear me on this device? And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But we will not be able to wait till you get. So you can just join when you are ready to join. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh, yeah, left. All right. As I said, I'm sure some of you probably have heard of the new acquisition of Paystack. Right? Paystack had to buy a microfinance. I'm sure they thought about it. Can't we just collect the license for? I mean, they would already have to get the license and just build the microfinance from scratch. But they thought about it that nah, it makes no sense. Let's just buy one that is struggling and empower it. And then they bought the microfinance. And when they bought the microfinance, it's like you're buying a bank. So you're basically buying all their debts and their credits. They also bought all their customers as well automatically. And they renamed the bank. So again, what does this mean for us as product manager? This is part of strategy and visions that we have to keep in our hearts. All right. Because this was slightly, and just to also help you understand, because this was slightly not the same as the vision of Paystack, initial vision of Paystack. What Paystack had to do was create a parent company. I can't remember the name now. They created the parent company, and then now they have microfinance, the Paystack that we know, and this app that they have right now. So you have a lot of companies that are innovating like this. The same with Access Bank. Access Bank also had a parent when they wanted to expand. They had parent app. They have Oxygen. They have Hydrogen. These are companies under, it's called subsidiaries anyway, but companies under the Access Holding, or don't know what they call it, Access Holding, basically the holding company of Access Bank. So this means that it helps them still focus on the vision they have for Access Bank, a new vision on that they have for hydrogen, a new vision that they have for oxygen, and together a collective vision for the holding company. So if you're a product manager at the holding company, all your features, all your ideas, all your strategies will be targeted towards the vision of the holding company. If you're a product manager on products on the other one, all your ideas and everything will be targeted towards that particular phase as well. All right. Hmm. Thank you. All right. So, secondly, customer empathy. Ah, ah. So we don't sympathize, by the way, products managers. We don't sympathize, we empathize. So you don't say, hey, yeah, well, and not give solution. Mm-mm. We don't do that. You always have to give a solution. I know the weight is heavy, right? But as product manager, you always have to. One of the things that I believe people know me for is, and not just at work, I'm trying to envisage it in my life. If I hear you talk about something, it won't leave my heart until I've solved the problem. If I'm unable to solve the problem, sometimes I'll check with you. Have you now gotten an alternative? Have you now gotten this? Why? Why is this very important? Because it is the core of your job to sympathize. To empathize, sorry, not sympathize. You are not telling the customer is saying, I'm unable to make payment. And you're like, hey, yeah, sorry, eh? I know some of us have experienced some kind of people like that. You try to send money, especially early 2020, when international transfers in Africa started getting very popular, right? Before it was Wise, it was just Wise that helps you transfer. But then now African companies started building systems that allow you to transfer. You don't have to go physically to bank to go and do, is it what remit again? So just download the app and transfer. Another time, transfer. Omo, we don't know how fast technology has grown. Oh. As at that time, if I want to send money from Nigeria to Ghana, for example, it will take 5 hours. Like one, two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours for it to deliver in Ghana. Like that's how long it takes for the money to get to Ghana. As at that time, Ghana, Uganda, and the likes, right? Now it's even worse. We cannot even send money, but at least we can transact in USD, right? But yeah, as at that time, this was like a thing. And I remember that if your transfer now has an easy, unlike now when you transfer money and then especially if you are using OP, you transfer money and there is issue in, you are so confident in less than 10 minutes they will reverse it back. That was not the case. So hey, in those times, for those of us that are used that had the experience, if you transfer money and then the money enter voicemail, like, I mean, the money did not deliver to where it's supposed to deliver to. The company that is supposed to collect the bank, let's assume you are transferring money from Access Bank to GT Bank. The GT Bank, The money has left Access Bank, but GT Bank did not say I've collected. Oh God. You go to GT Bank, file that you send money did not go. GT Bank will give you an ID to take to Access Bank that this money did not come to us. Access Bank will tell you go back to GT Bank and meet them because you have sent it to them. You will now be doing to and fro. Sometimes 7 days you are fighting the battles, right? And imagine this is just normal transaction, like within the country. Now imagine how it was for international travel. I remember I was working with a company that enables international transfers at that time, and I worked in support for like I think 3 months. The support person gave birth, so he was on leave. So as an intern, they took me to support, right? And I remember that when I was in support, I saw things. Like there was literally a man that came that called us and was zapping us. Crazy story. The guy does not even want to have an account with us. It is his wife that have an account with us. But he called, say, I transfer money. What's your name? He goes, what's the name of your wife? Blah blah blah. He tagged us on Twitter, tagged us everywhere. Even tagged us and wrote about me. One rubbish man that I spoke with was just telling me sorry. He said he's sorry I will hit. Oh, oh, oh. I read the Twitter. It was just tagging us everywhere. We had to invite him and his wife to the office because he was getting crazy and then explain to him, see, international transfer is not the same like normal. You cannot get your money in 1 hour. It will take about 2 days. Nothing is wrong with your money. That's it's just in transit. Say, no, my wife should have gotten it in the UK. I think the wife was studying in the UK, so he needed to send some money to our UK account. But again, to send money like that to UK as at that time was going to take it will take like 2 days or 3 days. For some of us that collect international money as well, we know sometimes it take one working day as of today. Right now, imagine what it was like 4, 5 years ago. Like it was worse. What am I saying 4, 5? Yes, about 6 years ago. It was worse as at that time, right? And basically, we had to bring him and say, hey, I say I'm the man. I'm the man that you tagged on Twitter. It was like, when you were saying sorry, I was explaining to you that she needs the money today, and you were saying sorry. See, that's what I can tell you now. Sorry, the money cannot get there today. Money, I said, what can we now do now? I said, nothing. Oh. You wait. Say, can I collect my money back? You can't collect it back because it's already in transit until they tell us. Like I told you, the other bank has to acknowledge and say, I've received it, or acknowledge and say, no, it failed for us to now take that money and give it back to you. So he had to wait. He actually waited extra 5 days because for some weird reason, his money had an issue. So, so they had to send it back. What am I trying to say? As product manager, empathy. I learned this that same day. My boss had to tell me, send an email to him to come to the office. Right? Because it was like all these companies that don't have offices, just like because we're like OPay and likes, then all these companies we don't have office, not to be trusted. We had a lot of things. Then we brought him to the office, had conversation. I remember we took a picture with the CEO. It was more calm, give him wine. I mean, it was tech companies and things and doings. All right. So what am I trying to say in essence? We empathize, right? You don't just tell people sorry without giving them solution, right? Even if it's quick fix, even if it's just temporary fix, right? Sometimes you don't necessarily have the good solution. Sometimes you just stay there and listen. I also learned something recently. Um, I think I was angry with who was it? I want to try and remember the company. I think it was Airtel, right? I had done Airtel subscription. I was supposed to be in a meeting, and then it was an interview actually, and then the network messed up. So I called them angrily. I was talking, and the girl did not drop the call. I knew I was angry. I knew I was rude. I was just saying, you guys are terrible people. You say you do, when you are supposed to have an interview. It was not a job interview, but it was like an interview for. I'll not talk about it. Anyway, so I was ranting, and I remember I was there almost 10 minutes. I was just angry and just giving it to her back to back. And at interval, when I paused, she would say, "We are sorry, sorry for the inconvenience." She was on the call. He was on the call. And I don't know why you people are like this. Blah, blah, blah. When I was done, and she now said, okay, so how can I help you now? Can I can we send an email to the person on behalf of you? Give me away. Like this is an Airtel customer support person. Like, can we send an email to the person? I was like, no, 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 it's fine. Or maybe because I was on Airtel business, maybe they're not that nice to regular human, regular Nigerians. But it was like that's basically removed, even though they had a major problem. My network was not back, right? But the fact that she said, okay, should we send an email on behalf of you to the person that you missed the meeting? Honestly, like all the anger inside me just went, even though the network was still not good, right? Now, this is where they expect us to be as product managers. Of course, you are not customer support person, which means you don't get to engage with customers often. But sometimes customers' feedback would get to your table. Sometimes they might come into your office and then you might be that branch manager, just the way you saw a branch manager coming out and say, hey, hi, how are you doing? Because even if your manager or your CEO comes out, they will still call you. See, what's wrong with your product? What happened? Right? So our response oftentimes is empathy. We should always be able to help the customer get what they need. And we are always advocating for customer. I used to tell my mentees and my students that your customer needs is key. Regardless of who you are, where you are, whatever it is you do, your customer needs has to be key. It doesn't matter what your CEO wants. It doesn't matter what whoever it is in your company wants. What matters is who your company, who your customer is, and what they want. I've given a lot of examples today to that regard. All right, then execution and delivery. Yes, you oversee execution and delivery, so you ensure that things are delivered on time. If there's a bug, it is fixed on time. You realize that if there's a need to communicate something to the customer, it is communicated on time. Those kind of things, right? You most likely speak to a lot of stakeholders. Before the end of the week, we'll talk about stakeholder management, and we share some stories as well. I told you I would try and make this as practical as possible. I'll share my personal experience sometimes in the class so that you can also learn from it. Mm. All right. So 80% of product managers are problem solvers. We solve problem. That for a living. That's what we do for a living. We tell you what do you do for a living? I solve problem for a living. Of course, we also fight. I use my screen. We do that too. But the core of our work is problem solving. The reason why we are doing Can You See My Screen is because we want to talk about a problem that we are solving, right? If you are not solving a problem as a product manager, then you are not working as a product manager. All right. Uh, so what are the core responsibility? Within we basically bridge the gap. So I used to tell people this as well. Uh, you know how you have what's that thing that people in military used to wear? That vest. What's the name? Uh, so that if you shoot them, it will not enter. Bulletproof. Eh. Product managers are like bulletproof. We are in the middle of external factors and internal factor. Even with internal factor, we are there. So which means if I have 10 people in my team and two of them are terrible people, they don't deliver on their this thing, they don't do while while I discuss with them to ensure that they improve, the outside person is not meant to be aware. Oh, our system is down. I'm the one that will take the blame and still communicate effectively in such a way that that person would not be pained or that person would feel loved, feel heard, right? So, as product managers, we are basically in the middle of everywhere. Marketing is coming, sales is coming, engineering is coming, even the CEO is coming. Everybody's coming and say, "Yeah, this is everybody coming and crying in your DM, blah 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 blah." I posted a video about me crying to another PM. Even other PMs are crying to you. I want this feature. Can you please let me add this small thing? Oh yeah, please, 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 please. I have to bribe that one with ice cream. Eh? I have to bribe out to add something into the future. Today she wants post ice cream. By the way, so sometimes this is our role as a product manager. So in the marketing team, they will drag you. Customer support drag you. Engineering, they will drag you. But for each of them, you have a need that is required. Because of time, I'll just rush through a bit. So you collaborate also with engineering, with design team. Like I said, your remember what we said earlier that usability is broken down into design and experience. So you always have to be involved in the design process, even if it's just a small button you want to add to your web to your application. There has to be a need. Why are we adding this button? I was sharing how a lot of products in Africa in particular, is a very terrible product. Nigeria in particular, literally any platform you go, they will ask you for your marital status. Till today, I don't know what they use that data for. Like I'm being sincere, right? You go to an e-commerce platform, they ask for marital status. You go and register your driver's license, they ask for marital status. You register your national identity number, they ask you for marital status. You you want to register for voters card, they ask for marital status. Like you wonder why. Why are you asking me? The most crazy part of it all is religion. They ask you, what religion do you practice? Christian, Muslim, or whatever. And I'm asking myself, this, yes, I think Majid wants to ask something.
You're not supposed to be bringing this marital sort of a thing here because we're in a class. You just wanted to know that you're married. So some of us are not married there, so probably you're not supposed to bring this kind of thing. Anything that concerns marital status, just put that one side. We are here for class, and
Actually,
we
it's
know
actually
we know, we know. No, thank you.
oh, you guys are just coming. You would have many of it. You would have many of the marital status. But jokes apart, actually, it was actually a valid reason. Another example is religion, right? It's a valid example in this particular case. I know I can be very, very much when I talk about marriage and single, and there are single people here that I mean, I will still hold your neck. Anyway, so at the end of the day, you'd see that there are some data that is not necessary. Like, why am I registering on an e-commerce platform and you are asking me for my religion? Like, does it help you give me discounts? Are you like you're not a religious organization? Why are you asking for my religion? Right? A lot of data like that are not necessarily needed in some platforms. And I'm just giving these examples. There are some platforms that don't necessarily need your name. They don't need you, they just need username. And that's why till tomorrow, WhatsApp has the most craziest and best onboarding ever. If you can give WhatsApp your phone number, which is like the key information they need, you are good to go. Right? Which is making sense because there's no need collecting all the other information. Imagine WhatsApp is collecting your address, collecting your which country are you from? Well, country for your country code. But collecting which is your street line number. Unnecessary. And this is why, as product managers, we always sit with the UI and UX team to actually collate and be sure that what they are adding in the design is actually what is needed. And honestly, some of this data can be a compliance problem for you on the long run. Because if there's a breach, if there's a breach of data, and because of your data, it causes harm to somebody else, it might be a very big lawsuit and it might crash your company. We have companies like, and I think that's why they designed Meta that way. We have Facebook. Currently, Facebook is in court for a lot of data breaches, a lot of serious problems till today. And I think even till 10 years later in the future, they will always be in court. Why? Because when Facebook started, they collected too much information. And now they can't stop collecting it. Right? So these are the things that you as product managers need to always be. This is why you need to be in the loop even when you are designing your product or working with engineering team and all that. Yes, Majid, do you still have something to say? I see that your hand is still up. Hmm.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, thank you. Uh, I think it's Teams. Teams is the one doing this rubbish. All right. Okay. All right. So, who are your stakeholders? Ideally, I've said it. You'll be working with the engineering teams, which include design. You'll be working with the marketing team, which includes growth. You'll be working with sales team, which includes account managers. if you're working in the B2B space. If you're working with support, which includes success team, right? Um, yes, and I've said you collaborate with all these guys as well. The 5% of successful product launches have clear KPIs. So briefly, we'll talk about. Give me a minute. Yes. So, what are the core principles of product managers? What are the core principle of product management in itself? Number one, I've explained before, your customer should always be your focus. Your customer should always be what? Your focus. So if your CEO comes and say, Majid, I think we should have this feature, right? You say, okay, I like the idea, but can we validate first? Yeah, 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 it's fine, it's fine. That's what you hear. It's fine, let's validate. So usually you get feedback from the customer, and then I'll show you how to we'll get there, or we'll talk about getting feedbacks and all of that. But yeah, when you get feedback from the customer, then you use this feedback, right, to determine if this is worth doing or not, right? So yeah, your customer should always be your focus. Um, Companies who are leading in the world today, they don't have AI in their product yet. I will repeat that. Companies who are leading in the world today, they don't necessarily have AI necessarily as much in their product yet. Yet they are still making mad money. So if you want to know, Aramco is making a lot of revenue, yet there's no AI. So again, even though we are in the world of AI, 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 right? Knowing where and when to add AI is actually very, very important, right? And this is the same for any other feature you want to build. Because your customer base, your customer group, are they is it essential for them? Are they is this a feature that would help them right, help them today? Is it a top pinpoint for them? Right? Also data driven, I've said, based on data you've collected from the customer, you have to then make use of it. Of course, you can get a customer feedback, and about 10 or even 50 of they give you about 50 features. You need to be able to say, okay, which of these features actually have the highest rating, which one is the most common one, which one is the most important ones, that we need to do. Yes, Majid.
Okay, you said like you can collect information from customer. What if it's a new company? Like, okay, you're actually working for a new company now and they don't have customers yet and they're just looking for audience, you understand? Then how do we get data for those?
Yeah, thank you. Very, very solid question. We'll still talk about it later. But yeah, so if you are working in a new company, ideally, regardless of whether you have existing users or not, they are users on the internet. You can put out forms, right? Put out forms on your marketing. One of the common ways that people do it today, you have early access. So you see people say, oh, they run mad marketing and then they put a link that join the wait list or join the early access. And while you are trying to fill the form for early access, they will ask certain information from you to help them understand better what your needs are before they now build the product. Sometimes they've not built the product. I don't know if that makes sense, Majid.
Yeah, I understand now. I understand now. So like doing the wait list now, they don't even have the product or the app yet. They're just trying
Sometimes
to
they
look for the
don't.
customer before they can build
Yes.
something on it. Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. There's a particular woman that did that recently. She talked about how there was a major problem in Nigeria. People want to send goods. I want to send things to my loved ones in the UK or Canada. And a lot of people are traveling every day. We just need a platform for people. And as she said, she's building a platform and she's going to keep only few people will be able to access the platform and blah blah blah. You see the number of people that are logged in. But if you check the checklist, basically she has a list of questions she's asking. And then that question would help her know what to prioritize, which feature to prioritize first. Usually that's why people get waitlists, right? Most waitlists don't even have dates in them. Sometimes it's aside from waitlist, there are other ways to also get it. We call it so for example, let's assume I want to build a loan app, right? I can always get data from marketing platforms. For example, from TikTok. TikTok would know that you like to collect loan, by the way, or you like to collect loan because they are listening to your conversations. Oh, Omo, if I wish I can get this loan, and Piam loan advertisement is coming to your hand. So those data already exist with the marketing platform. So I could get it. Some of these platforms sells this data. So that's why you notice that um for example, I've never collected loans before, but now they are calling me for loans. How'd they get my number? Or how'd they get my email? Something like this, right? So there are other channels where you can get data to actually send out to customers to get feedback. A couple of multiple ways, but we might still talk about them in the subsequent classes that we have. All right. Then finally, the core principle of product management. I've said this over and over again since we started. Yes, Sadiq.
Okay, I
Sorry,
think
Mohammed.
maybe in a form of maybe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, in a way maybe at which maybe you can get new customers, or maybe as a startup company, is through survey. I don't know if survey, because these days survey works faster. Maybe
Yes,
you can run a survey ad on your platform, or maybe even as a hard copy, share it around, get feedback from people to know what and what they wanted, and maybe their demands and whatever they're interested in. I think survey it's actually a nice idea, maybe as a
yes,
startup company, if you want to like get a data driven decision, something like
yes.
that.
Thank you. Survey is like actually the top. Just like I said, the wait list is also a survey, right? It's also a sort of like a type of survey, right? So yes, you are right. Survey is on the top of the list. But there are types to it, right? If you are doing manual survey, it's going to be really, really expensive and stressful, right? I've done it before where we had to take surveys and give it to people manually. Banks in Nigeria do that, but it is stressful. One of the most stressful things ever. In our final year project, we did it. Most of us did it, and it's not something to write home about, right? But yeah, surveys. There are multiple ways to do surveys. So you can digitalize surveys. Great stuff, works. But when you do manual survey, like you said, like print it and give it out, the data is prone to error. And usually, when it comes to product management, we don't advise it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, survey is actually a key one. Yes, Olorunfemi.
Yes, I can hear me now.
You can hear you finally.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So, I didn't know that we could like pause in between and ask question. I have like a couple of questions written down already, and they're much. So maybe I just take the ones that are really confusing me. So
Okay.
it's made mention about something like you don't necessarily have to know about. For instance, you want to make a network for internet data, and then as a product manager, you don't have any idea about it, but you can still take on the job. So if you're a technical manager and you do not know about networking and all of these things, how do you communicate with the development team? How do you use technical terms when you don't even know about networking and internet protocols and all of those things? So that's the first question. And then the second question is, as
Sorry,
the product manager
sorry. Let
for
me
the
answer one after the other. So you see, what I said the other time is for project managers. They don't need context, and I will explain why. The reason why project managers often don't need context, like I'm not saying they don't get to. Some of them do have context, but I'm saying they don't need it at the core of their responsibility. You guys are here for product management, but product managers are different from project managers. Product manager, you have to always have knowledge about the product you are building. But for project managers, which means the early products, I was explaining that time, I was explaining when the idea of management started. It started with project managers, right? You don't need to have an idea of everything. Let me give an example. the project manager in charge of building your house, that your 5 bedroom duplex that you want to build, he might never have been, he might never be, he might not know how to lay blocks. He might not know how to architecturally design something. He might not even know how to do survey, but he knows how to manage people, right? Usually, the key skill of a project management manager is managing people, right? Usually, they get a product brief, which is in the case of construction now, is your survey plan, your architectural design. They give it to them and then say, Baba, take this. These are the things that we want to build. And they give them like a plan on which one should be done. Uh, what do they call this? Foundation should be done in 3 months. Lintel, the building should get to lintel in the second month. The roofing should be this in the seventh month. So they give them that timeline and everything. And all they have to do is ensure that every other person that is working the work gets to do their work at the time that is preset. That is project managers. Product managers, however, we need to know about the plan. So a product manager is not somebody that also builds, right? But I have context on building. So that when I see you as a bricklayer mixing sand, I can tell you, guy, this sand you are mixing is the wrong sand. I hope you understand the difference now. For a project manager, it doesn't necessarily need context of you are using the wrong sand or anything. Is the building ready? Yes, it's ready. That's what they need to know. Does that make sense? Hmm. Olorunfemi.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
Second
it
question.
does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So now the second question is that do the thinking is it, for instance, you already have a product, and then is it the PM that does the thinking? Okay, what is the next feature that we should be adding? Is it the PM that is always on his toes, or
Yes.
you get the idea, then you deliberate on it, see if it is something that is feasible and will have a good impact to your product, and then add to it. So basically, is it as the PM, are you the one doing all the thinking for the product, or you get deliberation, you get other ideas from people and then deliberate on it?
Most of the thinking is not on the ideas because the ideas will come from your customers. Except of course you don't have users yet. See, before you have users, most of the thinking is done by you and your CEO, right? You have an idea. In fact, if you have your CEO that is probably not someone that likes to think a lot, most of the thinking will be you. But once you have customers, oh god, you ideas will choke because your customers will come and meet you and say, why is this one not like this? Why is this one not like this? So you will have ideas. We call it backlog. So for us, I will still explain as we go, right? So as the ideas are coming, you putting it in backlog and then you prioritize. So yes, when these ideas come, you have to refine it. We call it refinement. So you take this idea, you refine it. You ask yourself, why should we do this? What are the requirements to do this? Do we have what it takes to do it? Right? This or answering these questions, right? You will need to discuss with sometimes with your engineering team, sometimes with your sales team. Is this something that we have a lot of people for? For example, there are some ideas in my backlog that I will not do this year. I know I will not do it because those that are asking for it, they are not big customers. So if they don't see they are okay, the big customers are not asking for it. So which means it's not a pain point for all the users, right? And these users are asking for it are just asking for it because they need the aesthetics, right? For me, I have to look at this before taking it to my team because I don't want to be bringing all the ideas and taking it to my team. No, I have to first look at it and say, this one is it just aesthetics or is it valid need? I have to cross check with other clients that I have or other customers and be sure that this particular feature is something that is a pain point for all of them. And then when I'm sure, I'll now start thinking, we'll talk about prioritization as we go. I'll start thinking about what is the cost of getting this done. Do I have developers that need to use it or I need to employ more people? Do we even need to even do this, like build it internally? Or we can just partner with an external system that already has this functionality? Do we need to just, or maybe we can just buy another system and connect it to our own, right? This whole decision has to be taken by the management. And the only person that brings up this conversation with the management is you and you and you alone as a product manager. Does that make sense? So that's why they used to say product manager
Yes.
is like the CEO of the product. You are basically the brain house of the product. But do you do it alone? No. Most times you consult your that's why I wrote it earlier that you speak with marketing, you speak with sales, I mean even when you are deciding what to charge, you still have to speak with finance. You have to speak with almost everybody in the loop. Depending, that's why I said in company you are like at the middle of every I speak with everybody. I'm having a meeting with finance tomorrow regarding one case like that. So I basically speak with everybody in the company. I speak with compliance, I speak with security, depending on the feature I am working on. Does that make sense, Femi?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. And then the
Oh,
last one is not really a question, just like my own opinion. When you mentioned that you not like Jumia because they were dabbling into a lot of things. Well, me, I feel like probably the idea behind it was that they did not want third party um, uh, integration into their product. For instance, now you try to order a product. After ordering, they are trying to make sure that they use their own logistics company to deliver it to you, so that know that when you ordered successfully ordered, but then you're using another logistic company, your product does not get delivered to you one way or the other, even if they are not, it's not their fault, but you're going to blame them that I ordered from Jumia, but I didn't get my goods. Meanwhile, we used another logistic company. So maybe they thought that if we had our own logistic company, we are sure that as you order something, delivery is possible because we are also handling logistics. And then payment too, they integrated their own payment system so that they, you know, you can't trust another person's thing more than your own. So they trust their own payment system that okay, it's not going to be failing. And then if it fails at any point, they can quickly resolve it and everything is just within one ecosystem. So I feel like maybe that was their thought process that they had to dabble into a lot of things.
yeah. I agree with you that that's exactly their thought process, and that's why they are failing, right? Because in the tech space, collaboration is key. The moment you start to feel like your product is better than every other product, then there's a huge problem, right? Even with the fact that it's Jumia logistic that they use, do we still have problem with Jumia? Yes, we still have problem. In fact, more problem than the Temu that uses third-party providers. Again, it's balance, right? It's balance. And if you need, I need you to stop looking at it from the customer's perspective, from like a CEO, uh, Africa CEO perspective. I need to start thinking about it from a business logic perspective. For every new app they get, they have to pay for license. I hope you are aware, Femi. They have to pay for license to the government every year. They have to pay license for payment every year, amongst many other things that they will have to pay for. So again, why incur that cost when you're not making enough? And then because of the huge cost that they are incurring, they by the way, this is inside gist. They had to put that expenses on people that are selling on their platform. And that's why you notice that on other platforms, you probably get the goods cheaper than you get it on Jumia in some cases, right? Because Jumia is collecting a chunk of the money at the end of the day. And those that are selling also don't want to run at loss. So it's when you think of it from a business standpoint, it wasn't a wise decision for them to take because they were already giants. They were already e-commerce giants. You don't understand. They were giants in Africa, right? They could have just gone and blew up everywhere in Africa. They were just West Africa and then they flopped like that. We had great payment processors. Paystack was doing amazingly well. InterSwitch is there. A lot of guys are doing amazing stuff, and they don't even charge as much. Right, just integrate with them. For logistic, we have great guys. GIG is there. GO is there. They have coverage globally, and these guys don't have issues. maybe they are expensive, but sign an MOU. These are things that companies in the Middle East, like in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, US, even in the US and the UK, right? These are the things that they understand. You see them sign MOUs every time. Hey, we have signed a contract and partnership with so person. It doesn't stop you from making your money. If I makes your money better because all their customers are coming to your side. So there are a lot of advantage and disadvantage to it. Of course, are there times that you buy? Are there times that you build your own? Yes, there are times that you build yours. But in the case of their own, it wasn't necessary, right? And by the way, there's another case that they did I'm not even talking about. The Jumia is it store? I don't know what they call it. Where you order something from Mr. A. Mr. A has to take it to Jumia office first for branding. After branding, they will now send it out. Makes zero sense. Warehousing. And the crazy part is they had warehouse in almost every inch, every local government. It was a lot of expenses at the end of the day, right? So you have to think of it from a business perspective. As a product manager, you shouldn't always just think from a customer's perspective alone. You have to think from a business perspective. Is this going to ruin us as a company, or is it not going to ruin us? Is it needless? If it's not, then go. Let me give another example of a company that almost did that. Boat Food, right? Boat Food started in how many of us use Boat Food here? You used it in the last few days. Boat Food. And I will tell you what made them build the Boat Food. Because some of their drivers are saying, hey, people are ordering and then taking food. What they had to do was they recalibrated. So inside the boat app now, you can just basically just book a delivery guy, say deliver, instead of doing boat food, another application called boat food, unnecessary because the market is not mature for that. Do you get the point, Femi? Does that make sense to you? Or it still doesn't? Well, again, it's my opinion, and your opinion is also valid. Can you hear us, Femi? You are muted in case you're talking.
I hear you, sir.
Yeah. All right. Thank
I
you.
hear you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that all your question?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Thank
Pyra,
you.
you have a question? You guys don't want me to finish class today.
Yes, I do. So, I'd like to paint a scenario. Imagine a case where, as a product manager, maybe for the quarter, you've set your KPIs, your quarterly goals, you have aligned with all the stakeholders, all the teams internally, everybody's aligned. And then, weeks into the quarter, you're getting different requests for some features, urgent requests, and then you have to push back what you have already planned to work on for the quarter. And then when you're analyzing your performance for the quarter, you discover that almost everything or a lot or a chunk of what you have planned for the quarter was not achieved. Instead, you
Achieve
got
something else.
occupied you got exactly you got occupied with every other person's requests. So if there's like a performance review, it's going to be showing that you have not performed well. Meanwhile, you spent your whole quarter working. So as a product manager, how do you solve for that?
Thank you very much. This is the major concern I had 3 years ago when I started. But then I learned about a concept called business as usual. By the way, very, very brilliant question because it's not in our curriculum. So again, great stuff. So I learned about a concept called business as usual. So this concept is if a company doesn't have it, I try to introduce it. What business as usual means is that there's a form for request. So everybody comes. If you have a feature, usually they come. If your people are like my people, they just come and say, Michael, there's one tiny feature I just want you to let me hard. Or they tell them, Michael, this thing, don't you think we should change the color to blue? Right? They will ask it like It's something that you can just do abracadabra and then it's come, right? So usually I used to have a request form. And then when you request for the feature, you tell me there are certain questions. What exactly do you want? Usually the request is always tied to description of the request and the size of the request. The size of the request could be if we don't do this particular thing, how much are we losing as a company? Right? Like if we don't change this thing to blue, how much are we losing? Who is that customer that is saying if you don't change it to blue, okay, how much is this customer bringing? Right? And then when you put it there, see how long can the customer wait for it? Now, when they put all those things, usually by the time you tell them to go and fill it, when they fill it, somebody will come to you and say, which one is how much are we going to lose? If we're not losing money, I cannot do it. Oh, we have other things that are more important. You understand? So honestly, this works for me. So we call it business as usual because they are irregular in every company. Every company. I'm telling you, as of today, I still receive the request that I know in my deep of the mind of my mind that I'm not doing it till October. But I said yes, go and fill the form. He has not filled the form since money. So again, it's the way. So you put the feature request in, their status on the feature request. You can keep tracking it on the feature request. Oh, it has been road mapped. It is in progress. It is done. You don't need to come and meet me again. You will see it. I'll be updating the status from that feature request board. Right. So everybody, any oh, that's a very nice idea. Add this in the feature request. Add it in the feature request. I call it product backlog. Just keep putting it there. And then when I want to plan my next sprint or or if it's very important, then I call a stakeholder meeting. Usually my team lead and everything. We are supposed to do this right now, but we have a new request that seems to be very huge enough. I would like to deprioritize this. I know that we've communicated that we need to do this, but if we deprioritize this, the company will make more money and then the customer will be more happy. And then usually after that stakeholders meeting, you get feedback from probably your team leader says, let's leave it till later. You can do it later now, right? Yes, we can do it later. So we say, yes, I agree with you. Let's do it now. Usually, even though this is part, automatically, by the way, it automatically becomes part of your roadmap because you are able to sneak it into your roadmap, thereby sneak it into your KPI. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Because everywhere, everybody agreed that you should put it. Does that make sense, Kyra? Yeah. So I understand this is something
Yes,
that
it
happens to
does.
me
Yes,
a lot as a I think it happens to every product manager on the face of the earth. Every product manager. Yeah. It helps. I'm glad you asked. Because I might not have mentioned it in class.
One more question, please. What tool do you use for your feature request?
Uh Currently I use Service Dex. It's already
What?
integrated with Jira. Service
Okay.
Dex.
What did you call it?
Service
Service
Dex.
Dex.
Yes. It's already integrated with Jira. So once you
Okay.
fill the form, it comes to Jira automatically. But you can use Google Form
Okay.
depending on the product that you use internally, right?
Okay.
So if you use, for example, if you use ClickUp internally, ClickUp already has a form out of the box that you can just use, right? If you use Atlassian as well, Atlassian also have some forms internally. So depending, or you can even just tell them to go and add it to a board, create a different board for them. For those that are not technical, what is board? What is form? Right? Forms are like your survey to collect data, right? And then boards, as product managers, we have a board where we used to put items. So you have to do, doing, and done. We'll get there, right? Just needed to answer our question. We'll get there. You guys should don't worry, you are not disconnected. As we'll talk about tools much later in the program. All right. Is there any other question, Kyra?
None from my end. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Majid, your hand is raised. Do you have a question or it was just raised since?
No, I don't have any question. I think it's the team doing now that entirely.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So, and then the final part of our core principle is iterative development. We We don't wait till we are done with everything. We release as soon as something is ready, and then we test as we go. We don't wait till everything is done and then test everything. If you are building a human being, right? If your hand is ready, you test your hand. If your leg is ready, you test your leg. You don't wait till the entire body is ready to actually go. All right. Because of time, I'll be very fast. What are the skills you should have as a product manager? Communication is key. You need to be able to communicate, regardless of who it is. And when I say communication, please don't. Hmm, I work with a lot of foreigners, and I noticed this about Africans that work with foreigners. Right, we want to sound good in their, but really they don't care. So just sound the best you can, but mostly communicate. What matters is the value that comes out of your mouth. It's not how it comes out. Some of us have Abule Egba intonation. Some of us have our village intonation in our voice. But what matters eventually is the value you communicate, right? Communication is like very key. You don't just communicate because everybody's talking on the call. Sometimes there are calls that I join as a PM that I don't see anything. So yeah, Michael, do you have any feedback? No, I think everybody has said everything. Thank you. Right? If you don't need to talk, you shouldn't talk. Right? You shouldn't talk. All right. Uh, so yes, communication, data analysis, which is basically your ability to be able to interpret the data you've collected from the customers or you've collected from your product. We'll talk more about that. Market research and problem solving, your ability to be able to innovate ideas and all of that. All right. So this is where we'll stop today.